Hey folks, welcome to another episode of ASP.NET Core from Zero to Overkill. Although, again, not really ASP.NET Core because we are on the front-end side of things right now. So in this episode, we'll continue and wrap up this part of the front-end by linking it to the backend, making the requests to the API we developed so far. So if you remember from the last episode, we have this application right now that's keeping everything in memory, and now we want to link it to the backend. So unlike Angular that comes with an HTTP client, Vue doesn't, but they provide an example of using Axios, or sorry if I misspelled it. So let's go over here, let's install it. So we can make our requests. Let's put it in serving and let's start. So we could do this directly over in the, let's close this, everything. So in the store, modules, actions, it's here. We could do it directly here, but I prefer to create separate class responsible for it. So I'll create a folder data and groups, and now create a new file, groups endpoint.ts, and over here I'll define the interface. So export interface groups endpoint, which will be basically the same as in C#. So let me open the Visual Studio. So let me put it here. And we want to basically have the same as in the controller, which is basically this. So let me grab this. So we want get all, which returns a promise of group model array. So we need this group model. Let's create it here. Model ts export interface, and it will be again the same as this one. I'm probably doing too much layers for the front end, but it's what I'm used to in the backend. So import, okay, so get all returns a promise of group model array, get by ID, which we won't use right now, but which will return the promise of group model, then add. Now I'm doing this wrong. This ain't C#, although it looks like it. Group model, and returns a promise of group model, update date and remove this of void because we don't have anything to return here. So okay, now we'll create over here a, not in the models but here, groups service. Again, I'm probably doing what nobody does in JavaScript with interfaces and stuff like that, but I'm used to it. Export class. Groups service implements groups endpoint. Really? Okay. Yeah. I've done it other times and always the same. So what this here? Public. So all these methods will be async. And let's just create here a private read only base URL, which will be a string, and have API groups. So now we'll implement this using xuse. So import xuse from xuse, and then const response equals get this dot base URL and wait. And now we can just do data. So response dot data. Okay. So this is implemented. The rest should be mostly the same. So in this case, we need by ID. I probably should use some library to help building the URIs, but because these are really simple, I'll just go with it as is. For the add, will be similar to this one. Will be a post group, and then this one will be a put, but needs a complex URL. Group.id. And finally remove should be delete. Let me just put here a to do handle eventual errors. Now let's start using this in the mutation actions. So service equals new service. We'll change this in a moment, but right now we'll just go with it. So instead of this, we want group service dot get all, and this is now a promise void, so we can await this. Yes, all of these will be promise void, promise void, promise void, and they all will be async. So we fetch the groups from the API. We added group equals group service dot group. And here await group service, remove group ID. Okay, so now for starters we need to get the server running, so .NET run here. But one thing you might have noticed, so this will not work. We have an error. Okay, so we get an error because not found. So why? You might have noticed that when implementing this, I said that the path was this one, so API groups. But we know that it isn't true because this is being hosted on 8080, no API, and the .NET application is being hosted on localhost 5000. And over here are the groups. So what we need to do is create a configuration file, which is called where it is, Vue config.js. We'll have to create it in the root. And then dev server. We need dev server proxy. Let me just copy this. So no need for this. So basically, what we're going to do is proxy every request that is made to the API /API to HTTP 5000. And over here, let me check. We need this path rewrite. If I'm not mistaken. So every request to localhost 8080/API will end up in localhost 5000, removing the API from the path because we don't have API here. So I'm doing this because I don't want to enable cars for the application. It's not needed. So I want it to work as if they were hosted on the same server or on the same host name. So like this, I don't know if I need to restart it, but I'll restart it anyway. If I configured it correctly, I should end with a new line. Okay. Let's make the linter happy. So this should now work. Let's try. And apparently it's working. So if we go here, we have that. So we connected the backend to the frontend. So we created this group service, implementing this interface just because of reasons I will explain in a minute. Using this to proxy the requests. So if we go here to the network information, here, and I make an edit, we can see here, okay, there was an error. So where is it? Over here? Yes. So the request is going to 8080 API groups, but in the development server of Vue, it's then proxying it to our server, ASP.NET, and it works. But let me check just something here. No, it's working. Okay. It appeared that as if it wasn't. Save, edit, save, failed with a 409. It's a conflict. Why a conflict? Why is it a conflict? So post the group, response, return the data. Put the group, response, return the data. And then in the actions, the groups, added group, updated group. I'm not following. What's the problem? So what's in the request? Has changed. How has it changed? ID2. Oh, idiot. We must go to the mutations and remove this part. Now let's see. Gray, group B, edit, BB, and it works. Okay. Okay, so the mutations are now not doing that stupid thing. We have the configuration for the proxy. And we are getting the groups again, as I've talked in the previous episode. These end up working nicely, even though group model is not the group over here, because it has exactly the same format. If it didn't, we would have to map it, but as it is, we can take advantage of it and just let things flow. I just want to make one final change, that if in the future we want to unit test the actions and that it's stored correctly and all that stuff, we want to mock this, and like it is right now, it won't work. So I will replace this with the factory method. That will receive groups, I'll call it point. Groups endpoint. This is wrong. And then instead of this, return okay. So it's basically the same, but we want to extract the building of the endpoint. So now in the mutations it's all good, but in the index now we have make actions. So over here we should do make actions new group service. So unlike Angular, Vue doesn't have this dependency injection like we have become accustomed to in ASP.NET. So I'm using here the usual JavaScript tricks, so making a factory method. Maybe this is not the best place, but at least we are keeping the actions without that dependency, and if we wanted to test the actions, we could do it without that problem. So we can remove this and let's test if it's all working. Now, because it comes from the API, we can refresh all we want. Finally. So it seems to be working. Sample group. Save. Yes, all working correctly. So this wraps up this part of the application. So we have a front end, a single page application built with Vue. Very simple, but it's what we need right now. And in the next episode we'll be back to C# and the ASP.NET Core. even though, again, I am no expert in this Vue stuff and I'm learning along the way. Hopefully it was useful and you enjoyed it. Hope to see you in the next one. See yous!